I'm the New York State Kinship Navigator. I'm going to be talking to you about how to complete the non-parent grant application. This can be done using the LDSS 2921 form. If you need a copy of that, it can be found either through our website or at the end of this application. I'm going to be going through some of these pages fairly quickly, so feel free to pause as necessary. When you're ready to begin, we'll move forward. This is the first page of the application. It should have that big stripe right across the middle. The only thing you need to fill out on this page is that bottom section where it talks about if you're blind or seriously visually impaired, you'd like to receive written notices in an alternative format. So please just indicate yes or no as applicable, and then complete the bottom as needed. Then when you're ready, go ahead and turn the page. Okay, now at the top of this page, you should see section 1 in the upper left-hand corner. You're going to go ahead and check the box next to public assistance. This is a form of public assistance. If you are also applying for Medicaid on behalf of the children, go ahead and check that box below, the MA and PA box. Now, if you're applying for any other forms of public assistance, such as child care assistance or SNAP, you can check the appropriate boxes as well. Now you'll see there's no box that clearly says this is a non-parent grant application. So what I'd like you to do is actually handwrite the words non-parent caregiver case right in the top margin there. That way whomever is reviewing this has no question in their mind that that's what they're looking at. Now take a moment and go down the rest of this page, section 2 and 3. Fill these in for your information, the caregiver. First name, last name, street address, and so on and so forth. Section 4 at the bottom, this is only if you're applying for SNAP. So if you check SNAP at the top, make sure you do sign and date this, otherwise this doesn't apply to you. Section 5, where it says do any of these apply to you, this is for you as the caregiver, and this is to alert the staff if they need to have any additional conversations about services you may need, like if you've had a fuel shut off, if you've had a fire, things that may need to discuss with you further in your interviews. So just go ahead and check anything else that may apply to you. Section 6 is about household information, and this is about anyone under the roof of the house. Even if they're not the ones applying, it's just anyone that happens to live in the household. So we're going to start with the children you're applying for. Please list their first name, middle initial, last name, and then check that PA box, because again, this is a form of public assistance. And then any of the other services you're applying for, SNAP, MA, child care, going right across the row, fill in their date of birth, their sex, their gender identity, their social security number, highest grade of school completed, and whether or not they buy food or prepare meals with you. Do this for all of the children applying. Then go down and list yourself and anyone else in the household. You don't need to go all the way across the row for anyone else in the household. You can just list the names, just declare that they're in the household. Section 7, race ethnicity, kind of carries over a little bit from the last page in the sense that you're going to keep the individuals in the same order that you listed them on the last page. Now it is also a voluntary section, so you don't need to complete this if you don't want. But if you do, start with the children and just go right across the line with Y's or N's for yes and no, indicating the race ethnicity, and start with them and then go down to yourself and any other members of the household. The rest of the page is all shaded sections that you don't have to attend to. This section discusses citizenship and is only required for those applying. So you would list the children's names, whether or not they're a citizen, and then have them sign and date to the best of their ability. Then again, checking that PA box and anything else you're applying for at this time. If there's someone that is not able to sign for any reason, you can do that very bottom line stating that you witnessed marks made in the lines and that you are signing as a witness. This section discusses cooperation with the Child Support Enforcement Unit. Now the top section is just a couple quick questions. And then the bottom section is asking for information about the biological parents in terms of their name and address, date of birth, social security number. And it is required that you provide as much information as you have about the biological parents so that the unit can try to contact them and obtain child support for the children. This is a requirement of the application. If you do have legitimate concerns that this could cause emotional or physical harm for you or the child, if child support is pursued, there is something called the good cause exemption that can be discussed. And information on this can be found either through our website or the link again at the end of this presentation. If you are not pursuing the good cause exemption, however, please complete this section to the best of your ability with the information you have about the biological parents. Section 11 is very straightforward. It just asks about the tax filing status of anyone that filed taxes the last year. So please just list their names and then what status they filed as. If it was single, married, filing jointly, head of household, etc. And that's all that you need to do on this page. Income information. This page looks a little overwhelming at first. What we're doing here is for any member of the household, and again, this goes back to that page we talked about household members a little while ago. For anyone under the roof of the house, please list if they have this type of income, how much, and how often they are receiving it, and go right down the page. Now, again, with this application, we talked about they're only looking at the income for the children, but it is a federal requirement to at least declare the income for anyone in the household. So again, only matters for the income for the children, but you still need to declare income for anyone in the household. So please go ahead and complete this in its entirety. The section deductions, you're going to just continue in the same way that you did the last page. Section 17 is about employment, so please go ahead and complete for yourself as well as anyone else in the household. Now, very similar to income, this is only going to matter in terms of the children, in terms of needing to substantiate their income, but it is still a requirement that you provide your own and declare it. This is a requirement of the application. Section is a little different. You're going to begin by answering as if the child or children were applying. So what is the highest level of education completed? So the highest grade that child has completed. And then it goes on to ask if anyone in the household has completed these things or if anyone else has done these things. So begin from that mindset and work down the rest of the page. Resources information is be very similar to that income page we just did a moment ago in terms of the fact that it's for anyone under the roof of the house. So you're going to go ahead and just list who has this, how much they have, the value of what it is, and go right down the page. Again, they're only going to be concerned with the values for the children because that's for whom you're applying, but it is still a requirement to list it for anyone else in the house. Section 20, medical information. Again, we're doing for anyone under the roof of the house. So go right down. If the person has this as a need, you just check yes and state who it is. This is especially important if you're also applying for Medicaid on behalf of the children to be able to alert them to what these needs are for the children. Two areas on this page we're going to be taking a look at. The first is health plan section. Now, if the children you're applying for are already enrolled in Medicaid but have not declared a managed care health plan, this is a chance for them to enroll in one. And you can simply declare the plan here that you'd like to enroll in. If you have any questions about it, you can ask your worker during your interview. The second part we're going to talk about is the shelter section in that lower left. Now, if you own your property, you can simply state that you are your own landlord and fill in your own address and phone number. If you rent, please fill in your landlord's information. Below that, you'll see a spot where it says, does anyone who lives with you have a rent, mortgage, or other shelter expense? Yes, no, and if yes, amount. Please state yes and what you are currently paying. And then also below that, do you or anyone who lives with you have a heat bill separate from your rent or other shelter expense? Now, if your heat is included in your rent, you can say no. But if you have a heat bill that is separate, say you own your own property or where you're renting, your heat is separate, um, please state yes and state what the amount is. You will need to be able to substantiate this when you go for your interview. They're going to ask for some documentation, but this will be factored into your overall awards, so this is a very important amount. This is a continuation of that previous slide about shelter. If you have additional needs, such as electricity, gas, water, so on, please go ahead and declare yes and what the amount is here. Again, you may be asked for some documentation on this, but as these are things that are obviously required for the upkeep of a child, they do get factored into that overall awards. So it is advantageous for you to declare these as expenses for you at this time. So please go ahead and complete this section to the best of your ability. Section 22, down at the bottom there in the corner, this is another one of those sections that is going to be completed as if the child or children were completing. So as if the child or children pays child support, as if the child or children pays spousal support, please go ahead and complete this section accordingly. So on the left side of this page, you have section 23, which is going to be another one of those complete as if the child or children were applying. So go ahead and go down and answer those. The right side of the page, other information continued, is going to be all questions. Have you or anyone who lives with you? So this is going to be about the whole house. These are just eligibility questions. So please go down and complete that right side again accordingly. Go ahead and complete the rest of this page. This is actually going to be the last page of questions. Everything from here is going to be reading and signatures. So please complete this page and we'll move on. Beginning here, there are several pages of reading and information. Please make sure you read and understand all of the material. If you do have any questions, please reach out to your local Department of Social Services and ask the appropriate worker. And please do not submit your application until you feel you really do understand the material. When you get to this page, please make sure you are comfortable with all of the answers you have given to this point. Make sure everything is accurate. And if they are, please go ahead and sign where I've indicated with the two large arrows there and date. And you have completed this application. You may now drop this off at your local Department of Social Services, and so they can begin reviewing. And finally, these two links I've included on the resource page. The first is a link to the application itself, as well as some rights and responsibilities and just information about the application through OTDA. The second is about that good cause exemption that I discussed regarding child support enforcement. Please, if you have any questions, please follow up with these links. More information can be found on our website. Thank you very much, and good luck with the rest of this process.